All right guys, Larry Janae here. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. This is an instructional video for all my junior brokers out there. I really appreciate you watching and commenting and sharing my stuff. Get all your DMs, I get all your calls and your texts and your notes. I really appreciate it. Makes all this stuff worth it. I'm gonna do an instructional video on cold calling real quick. I'm just gonna go through a quick example of how I do it. There's a million different ways to do it. Mine isn't necessarily the best. It's just how I do it. I'm gonna do an actual cold call. Try a different number. Hello, is Tom there? Y'all hold. This is Larry. That should be fine. Thank you. Hi Tom, this is Larry Janae from CBRE. How you doing today? That's great. I'm so glad. Yes, I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking. I was calling you about your site down in Miami, next to the airport. It's an incredible location. It's an incredible site. I absolutely freaked out when I saw it come up on my list, and I checked it out on Google Earth. It's really unbelievable. I've got a million clients who would want to buy this thing. Would you consider selling it? You're not interested right now. What about a ground lease? Would you be open to a ground lease or maybe a JV? I've got a lot of clients who can get pretty creative. You can stay in the deal. They can do a ground lease, so whatever rent you're collecting right now in terms of parking, you'd be able to get that or better, and also potential partial ownership in any future development. Generally, they won't consider anything less than a 50-year ground lease with options to renew. Ideally, the longer the better, of course. Why don't we do this? If you're interested in hearing a little bit more, why don't we set up an appointment? I'll come down to your office and we can chat. Coral Gables? Okay. Are you free tomorrow? Around 1 o'clock? Only be 15 minutes of your time. In and out. Okay, great. All right, I'll see you tomorrow, 1 o'clock, Coral Gables. Again, I really appreciate it. I have all your information, so I don't need it. This is my cell phone if you want to save it under Larry Janae CBRE. And look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. And so just really lucky. Usually it's a voicemail, a dead end, or a hard no. Usually it doesn't happen like that. That was actually pretty simple. It was a warm call. We've been after this guy for a while, so he kind of had an idea that we were after him, but finally caught him at his desk. I will say that if you notice how I mentioned my name and his name to the gatekeeper was key. If you come off as if you've been best friends with this guy that you're speaking to for 20 years, hey, is Tom there? This is Larry. It's not like, hey, is Mr. Menendez there? Or, hey, is Thomas Maligan in the office right now? Like, if you are uncomfortable and formal about how you're asking for access to people, it's an immediate red flag to the gatekeeper that they should block you. But if you call and you say, hey, is Tom there? It's Larry. It's almost as if I'm supposed to be there. And it's a little psychological thing that I use a lot. And I know a lot of brokers out there already know this, but for the ones who don't, this message is for you. That's really key. I spent a lot of time convincing people I'm supposed to be somewhere that I'm not, and it's worked out really well. So I highly recommend you guys push hard and make sure you get past that gatekeeper as quickly as possible. Then also, if you notice, when he was not interested in selling, I've got a million clients who would want to buy this thing. Would you consider selling it? You're not interested right now. Which of course I'm stealing his time. I'm taking away from what he's currently doing. I'm interrupting him. I would say no to anyone who cold called me out of the blue and offered me something I really didn't need. When he said no, I immediately pivoted. Understanding that he wasn't interested in selling, I appealed to him in a different way, and that was in terms of a ground lease. You're not interested right now. What about a ground lease? Would you be open to a ground lease or maybe a JV? I know what the site is. I know what it's being used for. I understand the financials and the metrics behind it. So I get his process and I use that to my advantage. Why rent a site to many different tenants when you can rent it to a developer in one shot for an extended period of time? So it's a guaranteed rent check over many decades. Plus the upside of being involved in any future project. That's a no-brainer for most people, and it appeals to simplifying their lives and adding value, and unless you can do that, you'll never be successful in cold calling. So that was just a quick little example. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, comment and like below, and I'll do some more of those. Thanks a lot.